Hello everyone and welcome to my latest video and welcome to an unboxing of the Leica M9P. Now why am I unboxing such an old camera? Well, this M11P came out in 2011 but the original M9 came out in 2009. So we're talking a 16-year-old camera. But this year Leica is celebrating its 100th anniversary since the production of their very first camera back in 1925. And so last year was the 70th anniversary of the M3 and the M mount, which came out in 1954. But this year is a much more significant year because many of you know this already, but Leica is sort of an abbreviation of the word lights and camera. So before Leica, it was called the Ernst Leitz Company, founded by obviously Ernst Leitz back in 1869, and they made precision instruments and optics. And in the 1900s, they hired an engineer named Arsca Barnack, and he experimented with cameras. In 1914, by taking a movie film, which runs vertical, and he put it horizontal, went arms width, which just happens to work out to be about 36 frames, and he made the very first prototype camera. And in 1925, Ernst Leitz II decided that he would shift the focus of the company from precision mechanics and precision instruments, binoculars, microscopes, and shift it towards camera, which was a huge risk. And 100 years later, Leica still exists. And so I thought in honor of Leica's 100-year anniversary this year that I would do an unboxing on one of the most important as well as one of the most controversial digital cameras, and it happens to be an M camera, which makes sense because it is their most iconic line that they have. This is a digital full-frame mirrorless camera, one of the first of its kind at the time. And so M9, but this is the M9P, and you can see there it says, can you see that? It says black paint finish. So this is an M9P black paint, super rare. So thank you so much, JJ, for letting me play with this. He's one of my followers, and he reached out and said, Take, I have a lot of cool cameras, including the black paint M3 that you just saw at the beginning there. And so he said, what cameras would you like to borrow? And I said, well, M3 black paint and this M9P black paint. So let's start the unboxing here. I don't think I've ever unboxed an M9 before, and so this would be pretty exciting. Packaging is similar but also a little bit different. I have not looked inside here yet, so let's just move this off to the side here. But you get a nice little package here. Looks like the M9, M9P had the same package. And here is the box here. You have all your paperwork. Here is a warranty card, and I just wonder what the warranty was back then. What does it say here? Yeah, there you go. It says 2 years. So back then, I think 2 years was still pretty good. I think most Japanese manufacturers was 1 year. I could be wrong, but 2-year warranty. You get a certificate that it was tested, name of the person who actually tested it. So I guess if they did a bad job, they can track down who's the person that tested it to make sure it was working. Here's a full printed manual, which is really nice to have because we're assuming that the internet and these things will always be online. One day, if these manuals are no longer available online, or if the internet just happens to go down, it's nice to have a printed copy. So we got that. Warranty, test certificate, and what is this here? My point of view, I have no idea what this is. Oh, this is the one thing about early Leica digital cameras is when you would still get a CD, you actually got a copy of the Photoshop Lightroom. I think later years it was just basically a code that you type in at Adobe. This one here, I think it probably came with the disc, and the disc wouldn't be here because the person that originally bought it probably downloaded Lightroom. But that's actually cool that you would get a copy of basically what we call Lightroom Classic now. And so that came in the box. But you know, for $8,000 back then, I guess you would expect some of those premium features like getting Lightroom for free. I don't think it was that cheap back then. All right, so let's move this aside here. And now look in the main box. And you got a little, okay, this is probably what the camera is. Let's just pull this out. All right, I don't want to drop anything. So this is the box for the camera. And I'm assuming there are other things in here. So let's just move this off to the side. And let's just, oh, you know what? Let's clear this. Here we go. So this is the box within the box of the M9P black paint. Let's just open up. Super excited. I don't know why I'm struggling with the box here though. Probably like suction, right? Here we go. All right. There you go. Oh, that's why. Because it's the foam molded on both the top and the bottom. And look at that. Look how pretty it looks in the box. So let's put this here like this and take this out. Look at this. All right, let's also just take a look. There's one more box underneath here that I forgot that there is. And so this is the packaging here. One more box. This is gonna be the boring box. We need to do it, right? So here we go. Compact charger. It doesn't seem so compact anymore. But here we go. Leica charger. And one thing I've always enjoyed about the Leica charger, and I've always talked about it, is the fact that they tell you when the battery's 80% charged. And what's so significant about 80%? Well, let's just say a battery takes 2 hours to charge. A lot of people don't realize that the first hour can charge up to 80%, and the last hour, so the other 50% of the charging time, is just that last 20%. Because of the heat buildup, it takes time to charge. And also, most batteries in general, you should charge up to about 80%. They say between 20 and 80. So even with an iPhone, they say an iPhone, don't let it go below 20% and don't let it go over 80%. And that's the best space to be. So all Leica chargers that I've used up to this point tells you when you're at the 80% mark. And that's great. So once you get to 80%, you could pop the battery out. So you have that. And you probably just have, just have all the cables. I'm not opening this up. You have all the different cables, and you have that, there you go, that kind of standard dual prong thing. So I have tons of these that I just buy off of Amazon, and I just plug it straight in. I don't need like a 3-foot cable, but I love this charger. So I'm gonna definitely keep this out of the box. Discovered another box within the box, but because it was black, I couldn't see it. I'm assuming in here, what's in here? There's other little, I think maybe the batteries, maybe the batteries fit in here, and maybe the top plate was also in here. I can't tell, but it looks like there are cables. There you go. So you have some cables, and I'm also assuming maybe a strap. There you go. See, so the strap and the cable, look at that. It's pristine. So this must be, I'm not gonna really open it up, other than maybe just to show you this quick release system. So notice people have problems with the eyelet lugs. Leica they don't make them anymore. Basically, you pull this, and notice that. Look how quick that is. It's much easier. You could just slip it in and through like this. I won't do it because I don't want to scratch up his eyelet there, but it's very easy to slip through. And then you basically turn this around like this, and then you just basically push this and close it. It's actually a really ingenious strap system, and I wish Leica will bring it back, but maybe make it a little bit sexier. But I'm glad he has all of this. And like my M7, I also still have it in the wrap. I didn't end up using it because, I like third-party straps. But here you go. That should be it. There should be no more hidden compartments. M9P black paint. Look at that. Now the black paint doesn't look like it's like super glossy. It's kind of it's black paint. It's not, definitely you could tell it's not black chrome, but it is a little bit more matte than like you would see like on a camera like the MP or even the new M11 glossy, is that what it's called? This is a little bit more matte, but it's beautiful. And you can see compared to the original M9, I guess this is like the first of the P models in the digital era where basically P stood for professional. And so there's no red dot. You just have that little screw there to adjust the rangefinder patch here. And then on the top, you have the old school script that says Leica, and then Leica Camera AG, Germany. And so look at this. Now, we're not used to, first of all, seeing a D-pad on a M. That's kind of as old school. And here, oh, look at that. So you have the 4-way button here, and you have another dial, which is actually kind of cool. And then you have play, delete, ISO, info, and then set. And so that's definitely different from modern M's. And then here, what's in this? What's this? Is that, I don't know. I'm gonna figure out what this is, or maybe I'll just write down the bottom what this is. Is this internal charging, or is this, I don't know what this is. But there's a little connector here, which is in a weird spot. It kind of looks ugly, and I'm glad that the modern M's, like for instance the M11 put a USB-C connector, and I knew that it would be on the bottom. I think a lot of people expected them to put it on the side, but I don't think this is not very Leica-like. Putting that there, you want these curves to be curvaceous, right? You don't want to see a little hole there to plug in USB-C. That's not a very good looking design. The bottom seems odd, but a lot of people will put the lens down this way and you can start charging from the bottom, so that makes sense. Now, the difference between the M9 and M9P is, first of all, no red dot. You got the top script here. The M9, I don't think came as black paint. I think maybe only the P model came in black paint, although there was a silver version. Also, you got an upgraded sapphire rear screen on the LCD screen to make it more rugged, and as well as the vulcanite leatherette versus like a regular kind of leatherette. So it makes it a little bit more grippy, and it does feel more like an old film Leica. One of the main reasons why people still love this is the CCD in here. It is made in collaboration with Kodak and Leica, and what they wanted was a digital camera to still look like film. And that might not seem unusual today, but back in 2009, it was still the film era. The most sold film in history was, I think, around 2002 was the actual peak, and then film sales started tanking. But this is still the film era. A lot of professionals still shot with film, and people wanted the advantage of digital. And so digital was trying to not look like film at that time. And so it was unusual for Leica to sit down with Kodak and say, hey, let's make a sensor, a full frame sensor that looks like film. And what film were they trying to make it look like? Is Kodachrome, which is Kodak's proprietary slide film. So it wasn't E6, it was K14, which basically meant that only Kodak could process it. It was basically a black and white slide, a positive, but with color dyes after. And that adding of the color dyes is what gave that Kodachrome look, and you get that look out of this CCD sensor. Now, how important was this camera to Leica? Well, I actually had a chance to interview Stefan Daniel back in 2021 in Wetzlar in Germany, and he is the executive VP of Leica. He's very unique because he started working on Leica at 16. He moved his way all the way up the company, and now he's the executive vice president of Leica. So let's see what he has to say about the importance of the Leica M9.
That was a significant camera for Leica because it marks the turnaround also economically for the company. And the building we're sitting in here is partly also thanks to the M9, because what happened is that it was immediately loved by the existing M customers, but it appealed as well to many DSLR users who had that as a second camera, second system. So we got a lot of new customers who also all needed new lenses because they didn't own these before. So that all went and got a dynamic which we didn't expect in the very beginning. So, and by the way, the M9 is the world's first mirrorless full-frame camera.
And so, very important, as you can see, to Leica, it actually helped make the mothership, is what is the nickname of Leica headquarters. And it actually looks like, from the main lobby looking up, it actually looks like the old, like the film chamber of the Leica M camera. Just continue taking a look at this camera here. So it has the bottom plate, as you would expect, has the older battery, and it has an SD card. Oh, so JJ left the SD card. Now, one thing is you cannot put modern cards in here. This is an 8 gigabyte card. I think I heard you could put up to a 16, but no 64, no 128, no 1 terabyte SD cards. Just smaller memory cards, which makes sense. It's from 2009. And right here is it's a tiny battery. I have a feeling that battery will not last very long. And here, what's the amp hours on this? That's not horrible. 1860 milliamp hours. Not horrible, but I still think that it's probably not going to last very long. But luckily for Leica, it is a rangefinder focus in here. So there is no EVF in here. And this older one, you couldn't even attach an EVF. And this LCD is not live view. You can only view the images that you already shot. Now, it's a low res. I think it's like 250K resolution, so it's not a high resolution LCD. One of the things I remember even back then people would complain is you couldn't tell if your images were even in focus. This LCD was not very good even back then in 2009. And so basically it's to quickly check, probably for exposure as well as going through your menus. And it's odd, look at that. It even looks like there, as if there's a little mimicking of the film canister. Like, I know that's where this thing here goes into here, right? But look at that chamber there. And here's my beautiful M4. Look inside here. And look at that chamber there, right? Doesn't it kind of remind you? Look at that. Doesn't it kind of remind you of that film chamber? It's almost as if they got a mold of the old film M's and basically made sure that it looks a lot like the digital M's will look a lot like the film M's. And at the time, this was the smallest, thinnest, most compact full frame mirrorless camera. And you heard Stefan Daniel, as you mentioned back then, a lot of professionals that may have shot with DSLRs would have got this as something that they can have full frame and yet as small and compact as possible. And this is pretty much the same. It's a little bit, feels like a little bit, yeah, it's a little bit thicker than the Film M. And the new M10 is the exact same thickness, but the model after this, the M240, because of that new shutter, was a lot louder as well as bigger than the M9, the thickness of it. And so this is pretty darn close to the thickness of a Film M. And another thing that I would love for Leica to bring back is this multi-dial here, where you have off, you have single, continuous, and self-timer. Now, continuous and self-timer, I don't think that's a really popular feature, but imagine that the after single shot, maybe the second position could be a custom profile. Wouldn't that be cool? And maybe custom profile 1 and 2. So instead of having to go into the menu or using one of your custom function buttons to access a custom function, it'd be cool if they had single, and then your second one could be continuous if that's your custom function setting, and then have a third position. And again, that could be self-timer if you wanted to. But I think that would be still cool if the newer digital Leicas had that. And so as I mentioned, I have not yet even shot with this, so I have no images to embed of this, but I will definitely start shooting this as soon as I finish shooting this video, and then maybe in the next couple days I'll post something that I've shot with. Now, I did look at 2000, that era of cameras in 2009, and looking for iconic digital cameras. And the only one I can find, I mean, if you can remember one, let me know down in the comments, but is in 2008. So a year before this one came out, the Canon EOS 5D Mark II came out. So can you believe it? 2008 since that iconic camera. Now that was a DSLR, which was pretty much most digital cameras were DSLRs. Mirrorless was still kind of in its infancy. I think I checked the original Sony A7 full frame, the 35mm version. I came out in 2013. And so this is still, like most mirrorless cameras, were still APS-C, or what people would call cropped, which is somewhat incorrect because not all cameras, like the Fujifilm X series, is not cropped because it was never meant to be full frame. But if you look at the Canon EOS 5D Mark II and look at the size of the lenses and the cameras, that more has to do with the fact that it was an SLR/DSLR. That was quite big. And in terms of price, I think it was like $2,700. This was $8,000, so quite a bit more money than the Canon 5D Mark II. But the thing is, you look at prices today of the Canon 5D Mark II, it holds value better than most DSLRs because that camera is still quite iconic. Now, you're getting anywhere between maybe $300 to $700 US for it. So, you know, from almost $3,000 to $300 or $400, you know, and that's kind of what you would expect from a digital camera. This M9 and the M9P, and especially the M9P black paint, you're still gonna get like $4,000 or $5,000 for it. And I kind of looked at the range, anywhere between $2,000 to $4,000, and this was $8,000 brand new. And so in terms of depreciation, I think this has held its value better than the M240, the model that came out after it. Now, there is one kind of caveat or reason why, is because there is a very special upgrade program for the M9. Now, what's an upgrade program? Well, if you trade in your M9, Leica will give you value and allow you to trade in to upgrade to another camera. Well, why would they let you do that? Because of the infamous sensor corrosion issue. Now, what's that? Well, the Kodak sensor that was made, one of the sub-suppliers, the glass that goes on top of the sensor, it actually caused corrosion in the sensor. And so over the years, they realized we're having some sensor problems, and Leica actually started the sensor replacement program in 2017, where for free, they will upgrade your sensor. So I have Stefan Daniel talking about it in the interview I had with him, so let's insert that here.
Yeah, this is something we're not really proud of, that the sensor had this issue. But a Leica isn't cheap. A Leica stands for a sustainable system, for long-term compatibility, and this all makes that we feel a certain responsibility towards the customer. And also, this is something the customers expect from us to say, okay, if we made something wrong, Leica needs to fix it. So we try to keep it up as long as it was possible, and we we were begging the follow-up company of Kodak to make these sensors as long as they could. But there was a moment that they shut down this factory, and then we had a certain stock, but there was a day when the stock was also gone, so we cannot replace M9 sensors right now.
So first of all, I'd like to thank Stefan as well as Leica for being very transparent and honest about that issue of that sensor corrosion issue. But nothing you have to remember is that 2017 was 8 years after the camera came out. Now, they had a 2-year warranty, which was better than most manufacturers, and yet 8 years later, they still felt responsible for replacing that sensor. And so they did convince Kodak to make more sensors, but it was a finite supply, and eventually they ran out. And so after they ran out of the sensor, Leica still wanted to support M9 buyers. So M9 includes the original M9 from 2009, M9P that came out in 2011, but also there was an ME, I think it's called Type 260, as well as the M monochrome. So all 4 of those cameras are part of the upgrade program. So I'll put an insert here. I think Red Dot Forums just recently updated because Leica just added the SL3 body with the M to L mount adapter. And that one, I think when you trade it in, I think it worked out to about, they basically give you $2,100. But if you upgrade to an M11P, it works out to about $2,700, and then when the M11 monochrome, you're getting almost $2,900 or $3,000 trade-in value of an M9 that still has that corrosion issue. So if you already replace the sensor, it doesn't qualify, and that makes sense because hey, you got it fixed. But if you have that corroded sensor, basically Leica is saying, look, we'll give you up to a certain amount of dollars based on whatever camera you're upgrading. So we're talking 14 years later, after you bought a camera, the manufacturer basically says, we know it's not working, even though it wasn't directly their fault, it was one of their sub-suppliers, but they still take responsibility and says, we will give you this much money. So if you have an old corroded M9, you want to buy an M11P, they're going to give you $2,700 off of that camera, off retail, which means it also reduces your taxes, right? It's a really good program that Leica had implemented. And as Stefan had mentioned in the interview, that the M9 built the modern Leica, right? It helped build their headquarters. It really had it was a turnaround for Leica. And after the M9 came the M240, the M10, and now the M11. And so this is a 100-year anniversary of Leica making cameras. And so this is an important part of Leica's camera making history. And I'm really happy that Leica tried to fix the sensors for as long as it could and then have this upgrade program. And so because of that, as I mentioned, the price of the M9 is partially artificially inflated for a couple of reasons. One is because of that trade-in program. If you do have one and he has that sensor corrosion problem, and if someone wants to buy a new M, but maybe you don't, you could sell it to them at a certain price. And even though there's a sensor corrosion issue, which in any of the manufacturer, you just throw the camera out, it's going to be worth thousands of dollars to that person. So that helps. But most people that I speak to, including JJ, is that he loves the color. He loves that Kodachrome look, the skin tones, the pop in the colors. And so a lot of people love the M9 because they love the camera. So even for myself, I actually am looking to buy an M9. I don't think I'd afford the black paint version, but I would love to have this camera as part of Leica's history. And just to show you how cool it is to have a Leica M. So let me just put this down here and I'll be right back. All right, I'll still be right back. Here we go. And so here is the first Leica M from 1954, an M3, right? And so you can see even between these two cameras, it has been brassed here. You can see the black paint does come off, but fundamentally you basically shoot these cameras pretty much the same. But here is this lens from the 1950s, and here is an M9. You take this off, look at that, the lens works, right? And that works even, this is the M10R, so it's not the most recent, but it is a modern M. And same thing, you could take a modern M, this is not a modern lens, well, it's a remake, it's a reissue, but you can take a modern lens like this, you can still put it on an older Leica, like that. And so the beauty of the Leica M system is you have 70 years of bodies N lenses, as well as other manufacturers. Companies like Ricoh, Minolta, Canon, Nikon, they've all made either like a Leica thread mount or an M mount. Brands like Voigtlander, Contax, and now you have brands like Thipoc and Light Lens Lab, TT Artisan, 7 Artisan. Lots of manufacturers make M mount lenses because it is the most valuable and the most prolific lens line because because of the size and weight. I mean, look how compact this is. And so I'm gonna have a lot of fun shooting with this M9P black paint when I'm out and about, along with my M10R. This is my M7, my M4. And so thank you so much for watching. Thank you for amusing me and allowing me to do this unboxing and first look at the Leica M9P black paint. If you have any questions down below, if you want to just let me know about your experience shooting with the M9, let me know down below. But I'm really looking forward to shooting with this. And so let's end this. I don't even know which. Here, let's grab this again here. Thank you so much for watching and happy shooting. Peace.